Hey everybody, ronarray here, and today I want to showcase my league starter build for 0.4, Shapeshifting Bear Druid. At the moment, Bear Druid looks like an amazing all-rounder with a great potential for fast clear, while being tanky and providing decent single target damage too. Bear with me now and I will explain how the build works, what are the upsides and downsides. Let's go Bears! And I will league start that build myself, so feel free to subscribe to the channel for further updates. I also have in-depth written guide too, check the link in the description for it and make sure to save it, it will be updated constantly. Now, let's focus on the build. So the first question that comes to mind: is the bear going to be slow? Because in Path of Exile 2, the whole meta is heavily dominated by speed. And at the moment, I believe that bear could have an amazing and pretty fast clear just to the skill called Rampage. So Rampage is giving you shapeshift into bear and rampage forward, slamming the ground as you run. The initial roar generates rage, then consumes rage until you run out. So long story short, you're using the rampage, you're running fast with a speed which is approximately looking like a sprint speed at the moment, it's probably a little slower. And while you're running, you're also going to constantly consume rage and hit everything around you. So I believe if we're going to combine Rampage with enough rage generation, we will be able to constantly run through maps just by rampaging non-stop. And I think it's stacking so good with Shaman. So Shaman currently have no inherent loss of rage, regenerates 6% of your maximum rage per second. And it also gives you increases and reductions to mana regeneration rate applied to rage regeneration rate. So at the league start, we can just combine the Shaman Furious Wellspring together with Rampage skill by itself and keep rampaging through content by running non-stop. I think that combination is going to make the Druid pretty fast and going to fix the biggest issue that Bear at the moment have, the speed. On top of that, we will be able to combine our constant rampage with Paul Thickern's Sapphire Ring, which will give us enemies chilled by your hits can be shattered although frozen. That ring, together with Herald of Ice, is going to provide decent enough clear against almost all basic enemies. And in the proper endgame, I think we will be able to just swap to Herald of Ash instead, or just run Herald of Ice without Porsekin at all. Especially since right now we will have more rares. But I believe Herald of Ice together with Porsekin is going to be a very cost-efficient way to get amazing clear while just rampaging around non-stop and doing nothing else. And even if in the campaign you might not have Porsekin Ring, just running around with constant rampage should be good enough to clear most of the acts. But right now let's talk a little about single target, which we will need to boost as well. So for single target, we're going to use a combination of skills. At the moment, it's going to be Maul as a basic attack skill, mostly because Maul generates a pretty decent amount of rage. And we're also going to combine it with a rage support to generate even more rage from one hit. So why we are generating all that rage? Because when we are generating too much, we are going to use Walking Calamity. Walking Calamity is giving us glory, so build glory by gaining rage while already at maximum rage. So if you're not rampaging around at the single target fight, we're just standing and spamming Maul until we're getting enough glory from Walking Calamity like at the maximum rage to use it. So Walking Calamity is going to provide a lot of meteors around. And it's also very important to notice that Walking Calamity is an attack and not a spell. So that way, we're also going to get like damage gained as fire for Walking Calamity, and we're going to get meteors for 149 and 374% of attack damage at level 13, which is absolutely amazing at the moment. It's going to be available a little later in the campaign, and I think it's going to fix our single target completely. So just reusing Walking Calamity non-stop while spamming Maul to keep our rage at the maximum is going to provide a very decent amount of single target for us. But there's also one cool thing that I wanted to add for it. So as you probably know, GG added bosses anti-burst damage mechanic. So right now, once boss has finished its emerge, becomes aggro, the damage reduction period starts counting down. So boss will have damage reduction at the start of the fight, and it will be very hard to kill it fast. So instead of that, we're probably looking at the fight that will be like 20 to 30 seconds long, approximately, based on the damage reduction, especially while we have a pretty bad gear. So at this moment, attrition comes to the play. Attrition got significantly buffed in 0.4, so instead of 60 spirit, it currently costs only 30 spirit. And at the maximum is going to provide us 59% of more hit damage to rare and unique enemies, which is absolutely amazing. Even if we will need to stay in the fight a little longer, because like for every 2 seconds, for example, if the fight is going to be, let's say, 20 seconds, right, we're going to get 10% of more damage. For 40 seconds, it's already going to be 20. And we will also get a pretty nice Sculling Strike against rare and unique enemies that has been in your presence for at least like 30 seconds. Since fights in general, because of the anti-burst mechanics, are going to be longer, especially with the bad gear, I believe that attrition at the moment definitely worth it, at least before we will get good enough gear to just burst bosses down almost immediately, like it's always been before. I think it's going to work pretty good for the starter for 30 spirit. And the last part of our single target damage rotation is Berserk. So Berserk leads us to losing 0.1 maximum life per rage per second, while not losing rage. And it's also granting us 40 to 60% increase rage effect. Since in the bear form, we're going to stack so much rage through Shaman and through the tree as well, I believe that using Berserk for a single target could be very nice. And the only important thing that we will need to get is like physical attack damage leached as life to compensate for losing life in general. So with Berserk, we will get a pretty big rage pool together with increased effect, and it's going to provide a lot of melee physical damage. Even if we will probably don't need Berserk for clear, we can also use it in the clear as well. It could replace attrition if we don't have enough spirit, or it could be used in combination at some point. And it leads us to another interesting part of the build, is just using the Shaman to get initial spirit. So when we are talking about Shaman Ascendancy, there's a lot of cool things that we need to focus on. I believe first off, we will need to go through Druidic Champion, reaching Furious Wellspring for rage regeneration. But after that, we can invest into Sacred Glow to get free spirit, or pick Adaptation from Reactive Grow. Also, Wisdom of the Magi is looking like a very nice endgame option as well. So I believe at the league start environment, when you don't have a lot of spirits on your items, it would be great to go for Furious Wellspring, then take in free spirit from Sacred Flow, and after that probably investing either into Wisdom of the Magi for damage or Reactive Growth for Adaptation. We will need to test Adaptation in game, and I'm going to do an update for it for sure after the Druid will be released. And later in the endgame, you can also drop the spirit completely and just take Wisdom of the Magi together with Reactive Growth and Furious Wellspring for rage generation. Another option for further endgame would be to become an Oracle, because Oracle is looking absolutely amazing, but I believe at the start and at the league start environment, just going Shaman for rage regeneration is going to be much better. And on top of that, if we will combine all rage passives in the tree together with Shaman, we will be able to get 63 rage, which is absolutely amazing. With 63 rage, we will have a very big basic regeneration per second. So it will be about 3 rage regenerated every second, just basically, and on top of that we can also get like mana regeneration rate applied to rage regeneration rate, improving it even further. And 63% of more damage coming from Rage, especially when we already using Berserk for like 60% more increased Rage effect, is going to provide a lot of damage by itself. And there's a very big chance that if Talismans as a weapon going to scale greatly, it will be enough to deal with the most targets we can find in the game. And the last, but not the least, power for the bear is coming from Warcries. So we have Ferocious Roar as Warcry skill, which will give us an opportunity to shapeshift into a bear, roar, immediately gaining rage if there are enemies nearby, and empowering subsequent attacks to break armor. Hopefully, we will be able to use it together with the Rampage to just snapshot our damage from Warcries, but even if not, we will be able to reuse Ferocious Roar at least between the Rampages and on bosses. It's also giving us a very cool thing. Socketing a human form Warcry into this skill triggers Warcry instead and augments its damage and area. So that way we can add human form Warcries instead of just using Ferocious Roar by itself. And perfectly we will be able to add like multiple Warcries in there, but even if it's going to be one, it's going to be alright. So for that case, we can use Infernal Warcry, for example, to just destabilize and combust enemies, together with empowering melee attacks for additional damage. So we will get about 49% of damage as extra fire damage, which is very nice at the moment. And if we will be able to use multiple Warcries inside, I think adding Ancestral Cry could be pretty nice, together with even the Raging Cry just to generate more rage as well. Just using Infernal will be more than enough, but combination would be just perfect. And since we're using Ferocious Roar to just stay in the bear form and not leave it whatsoever, there's another important part that works very nice with the new support. So right here we have Echoing Cry. It gives us support Warcries and supported skills Echo, causing their effects to happen again after a short delay, but are less effective and require you to have traveled certain distance before use. So I think to use it together with Rampage is going to work so good with Echoing Cry, because we will be able to travel constantly around and getting those eco bonuses back. So I think using that support together with like Infernal Cry and Ferocious Roar is going to be absolutely mandatory to improve our whole build later on. So now let's talk about the supports for the skill that we currently have. First off, we're going to use Maul at least at the start. So for the Maul, we're going to run like rapid attacks for faster speed. At the start it's going to be rapid attacks 1, and later it's probably going to be like rapid attacks 2. I think combining it with cold attunement would be nice if your weapon is not dealing fire or lightning damage. And at this moment, I think it could be a decent option. However, if you have additional Warcries generating fire damage for you, or you're using any other variation of weapon with like additional damage, you can drop Cold Attunement and run any kind of attunement that's working for you. I believe that running Fire Attunement would probably will be the safest way, especially if you're going to use Infernal Cry, so feel free to juggle those around. And I believe that at Maul, using the Rage as a support will be pretty mandatory, because we will need to stack Rage very fast to get Glory, to use Walking Calamity. And getting Heften there probably is a very good idea, so initially I think supports would look somehow like that. For the Rampage, we have a variety of supports as well. I think Momentum is going to be absolutely amazing, because you're moving more than 2 meters, so it's practically 40% more damage out of nothing. And running Cold Attunement would be pretty important for Rampage as well, because that way you will be able to deal enough cold damage to proc the Portsican and use Herald of Ice too. So use it if it's working out at the start. I think later on Cold Attunement could be re-picked with Embitter, and that could be a pretty decent idea to maintain it, but at the start I believe Cold Attunement is the king. And after that, If attack speed is playing no role for Rampage whatsoever, I believe that running heavy swing is probably going to be a very good idea because it's like 35% of more melee physical damage, and we're going to start a lot of physical. However, if attack speed will prove crucial, instead of heavy swing, we can always just run rapid again for 25% increase. And as a second option, we can also run Aftershocks and Feast of War. For Aftershocks, we're not 1000% sure that those are going to work with the Rampage, because it gives you support slams you use yourself, giving them a chance to create an Aftershock. That way, since Rampage are creating slams by itself when you are running, there is no 1000 guarantee that Aftershock is going to work, so if it's not going to work, I think we can drop it, and if it is, we can just keep it in there. And the last part is just Feast of War. Attacks with supported skills are ancestrally boosted no more than once every 4 seconds. I believe that Feast of War should work with Rampage, but if it's going to meet the same situation like with Aftershock, we can drop it completely and just get additional damage for elements. For example, we can always use like elemental armament instead. But if it's going to work, I believe that Ancestral Boost Rampage is going to work very good, especially if it's going to snapshot damage from the moment when you cast it and when it's been ancestrally boosted while you're staying in the Rampage. And you will be able to recast it not more often than like every 4 seconds as well. And for Herald of Ice, at the start, I believe just running Magnified, Cold Attunement, and probably Elemental Armament is the best idea at the moment. The first aura should be Berserk if you will be able to get enough Leech. And if you will not be able to get Leech after Herald of Ice, I think getting Attrition is probably going to be the best idea. I believe that Berserk is going to outperform Attrition significantly, especially if your damage is going to be good enough. So right after Herald, I would probably just take Berserk. Now let's talk about Calamity. So for Calamity, I believe that just running Fire Attunement together with Elemental Armament is probably going to be the best. On top of that, we can also add Momentum, because Calamity is a duration skill, and when you're using it, you will be able to just run around and get the 40% bonus. I believe that Heft should work kinda alright with Calamity too, because it's taking your physical damage and just moving it to fire. And Atalui's Bloodletting could be a nice addition here as well, because Calamity has a pretty high cost, and you will be able to get the capped bonus from Atalui for like physical damage, which is going to be approximately like 40% based on the changes that we got in the patch notes. So it's going to be approximately like that. Maybe Heft or Atalui not going to be too effective, but I'm very sure about Fire, Attunement, Elemental Armament, and Momentum at the moment. Now, let's talk about the tree. Unfortunately, at the moment, the tree is not updated, so it's probably going to get changed a little later. Please check out the written guide that I linked. I'm going to provide all the changes with the tree in there. However, at the moment, I believe something like that is probably should be the goal. So keep in mind that I'm spending additional 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points right here, because I'm starting from a warrior. So you will be able to reach something like that at level 93 without those 7 points. And I believe that at the moment you can just take the mana up here, go to the left, take like Battle Fervor for additional speed, probably reach in Blood Rush, and if there's going to be a mana issue, I think initially we can also invest in the Price of Freedom. And one of the biggest damage bonuses is going to be Singular Purpose, because we are going to use Talisman, which is two-handed weapon, together with additional bonuses from Rage. So right here we have like Crushing Verdict, which is absolutely amazing for additional damage. Reaching down here we can get like Battle Trance for a lot of additional Rage. And for the speed, I think getting Momentum to ignore all movement penalties from armor is pretty important, otherwise the character could feel a little slow. Same goes for just getting light on your feet, and I think initially it's just important to focus on the damage. So that's how the tree should look. I also think that Vengeful Fury should help a lot with generating additional rage, because when enemies are hitting you and they're going to hit you a lot, you're going to get a lot of additional rage, because every small node right here gives you +2 rage and the big one gives 5, so 11 rage every time an enemy is hitting you. Also, if the mana issues are going to be too big, we can also invest into Blood Magic. But since we already have a Clarity in the build, I have it in the written guide, I believe that Blood Magic will not be necessary. So at the start, I will probably just go up, go to the left, try to get Viciousness and Personal Touch. After that, go in here, down, Reach and Singular Purpose, and additional bonuses from Crush and Verdict, because it's providing a lot of damage. After it, going up to taking Bestial and Feral Force together with Battle Fervor. I also believe that Prism Guardian is going to help us a lot with survivability, since we are going to stack armor on every item. And initially that's my tree, but keep in mind that that's going to be updated, so check my Twitch for updates or the written guide. And talking about the items, I will provide a few examples in the written guide too, but initially you will just need to focus on getting items with as much armor as possible and getting armor applied to elemental damage, so you can always get it as a suffix right here, up to 50% on every item with armor. It could be boots, it could be helmet, it could be body armor. And item itself should have as high amount of armor as you can get. So perfectly, you should have huge amount of armor on every item, together with armor applied to elemental damage. And on top of that, just maintain your resistances, get strength where you can, and I think for rings you can also get mana regeneration, because that could boost your regeneration for rage as well. So if you're going to get like a basic rings like that, you can always roll both maximum mana if you're feeling mana issues, or mana regeneration. So there's like increased mana regeneration rate, and you can get up to 70%. So I would definitely recommend to roll that mana regeneration on at least on one ring, especially if the second ring is going to be the Porcicane. And the last part is weapon. Unfortunately, currently we don't have a lot of talisman bases, so we will be able to see only something basic like that, like a bear talisman, and we can create those in Path of Building. But initially, I recommend you to run bear talismans with either fire damage, physical damage, or cold damage. Perfectly, you will need enough cold damage to trigger your Herald of Ice, and that's pretty important to keep in mind. But if you can't find the talisman with the cold damage, the rolls will be bad or something like that, just aim for as high physical as possible, at least during campaign. So that's pretty much it, that's all information that I currently have. Please keep checking the written guide and feel free to check my streams as well. I'm probably going to keep updating the build while I'm progressing the campaign myself. But even with the information that we currently have, I'm absolutely sure that Bear is going to feel very, very strong in the current meta, and it's going to work pretty nice for almost everybody who will play that. Thank you very much for watching, and see you pretty soon, my bears.